Well, I mean, what's come out of the US press delegation conference today, I don't know if you saw that, but the US have said they're not going to settle for, you know, a political agreement that doesn't mean enough.
They always say that. They always say that. I mean, you know, if this were George Bush negotiating as opposed to, you know, Mr. Nice Obama, then would we be quite so happy and confident about America?
I don't think we would. It's not just about niceness, though, huh?
Well, no, it's hardball stuff. I mean, what's going on in those things? I mean, there's no compromise. I mean, we're not talking about ecological interests being negotiated here. We're talking about economic interests. And we in the environment movement,
it's got to come hand in hand,
we should really understand that this has nothing to do with environment. It's absolutely everything to do with development and huge amounts of dosh and vast changes in world economies, which we as environmentalists like to think that we have some kind of control over or whatever. I don't think we do at all. I think this is absolutely, this conference is effectively out of the control now of the environment. It is absolutely in the hands of very, very experienced development and politician guys who are really in it for a different thing. So we've got to be aware.
Okay, but let's be clear. It never should have been just about the environment, right? Because this is a problem which affects virtually every national and global interest you can think of. It is not just an economic interest. It's a health interest. It's a security interest of the first order. Right? So that's a good thing, right? That you have finance ministers, you have defense ministers, you have heads of states engaged. In fact, if you went back to the Bush administration, as regrettable as it was, the leading voice for action on climate change in the Bush administration was the Defense Department, right? Because they could see what climate change meant for security worldwide, right? Which is just to say it should be at the head of state level, and it should be all of those interests at the table, figuring out how, in fact, you prevent catastrophe here, right? And how you do it in a way that would work. And I think that's your job.
I think
make sure
no, but there's another fundamental problem here, and that's basically you bring in all these heads of states, and they kind of override the whole UN system. It's basically they superimpose a ready-made deal, which is what we've effectively saw from Denmark the other day, on all these things, and then they use fantastic political and financial muscle to, you know, put arms behind backs and basically get a piece of paper so that all 110, 12, 15, or whatever it is, can wave it around, and I'll have a great big photocall and say, we saved what? Absolute rubbish. This is much, much more serious. These negotiations are going to go on clearly for another year at the very least, and there's no guarantee at the end, at the moment, that they will come out successfully. And so you may want to cheer, but I don't think we should.
We'll carry this on. Unfortunately, we're going to have to lose everybody else. But so thank you very much for coming in today. I just want to thank our guests, Jim Leape, Director General of WWF, John Vidal, Environment Editor of Guardian, and also Stephen Briggs from the European Space Agency. We'll be back again at the same time tomorrow. Join us then for more news from inside COP15.